Right on, and welcome back to the Wreckless podcast. We'd like to thank you all for joining us again here with Steve the Art Man Miller and Steve from Casa Noble, who's been awfully quiet now, but he's definitely not a quiet guy. We've been sitting here rapping about everything and so much. But hey, dude, so I got to ask you, you keep saying you have all these pasts and whatever. Like, where you come from, bro? What did you start out doing? Like, I mean, don't say your mom. I already know that one, dude.
Yeah, I've known him for 5 minutes. I've heard like 3 different careers.
That's what I mean, dude. You're like the artist formerly known as, speaking of Banksy.
I was raised by rocks. Means I'm a little bolder.
Yeah, right. Well,
No.
you know, I only gather moss. Dude.
I was born and raised in L.A., Glendale.
I apologize for that.
I got out. I got out. No, I spent most of my life in Los Angeles and California. I started bartending in '84 at the Hard Rock Cafe. I was a bouncer because I was a competition boxer for 12 years in downtown LA, and was a bouncer for a little while, and then bartended, poured my first drink at the Hard Rock in '87 in Hollywood, and then from that moved around. I worked in 5 countries, competed overseas.
Competed in boxing or bartending?
Both.
Both?
Both.
Okay, well, go hand in hand sometimes.
Sometimes on the same
Sometimes you got to have
shift.
both going down. You know?
Bars liked having bartenders who were fighters.
Well,
but
yeah,
they'd save money on a bouncer.
Right.
But was behind the stick for 28 years, moving all over the world, working in different places. But the whole while I was doing that, I was doing other things, different careers. But I always kept bartending because it was an outlet for creativity.
Right.
I wanted to be a chef.
Right.
And I couldn't afford to go to school. I remember I applied to the
Little
CIA.
did you know, school wouldn't have helped.
Everyone
Let me
with,
let you know from firsthand, it's not the best idea.
everyone with talent says
Right,
that.
right. Well, you know,
But yeah, I wanted to go to
just remember, everything you make turns to poop. That's the rule. That's the theme today.
Theme for the
That's
day.
the theme for the day.
tattoo somewhere. Gotta get a tattoo.
But bartending is not far off. I mean,
yeah,
the craft movement, right? I mean, when I bartended, it was Jack and Cokes, and we didn't do anything, right? Like, I didn't see a bartending spoon, and I was a bartender for 3 years. Now,
It was all guerrilla bartending, asshole
Right.
and elbows, right? Just get them out. And
100%.
But because I wanted to be a chef, I couldn't afford to go to school, and so I would bug every place I worked. I would bug the chefs.
Right.
How do you do this? How do you do that? And I started learning about their palates. So then when I got the opportunity to create cocktails for a venue, instead of me thinking about it, I kept thinking, well, who cares what I like? I've got to make the customers happy. If their butts aren't in the seats, if they're not spending money, I don't get to pay my rent. So who gives a shit what I think? I want to know what they think. So to make my drinks better, I did something that I didn't see anybody else do. I had so much respect and reverence for chefs. I would bug the guys in the kitchen, because the guys in the kitchen, there's 15, 20 guys in there, and they're tasting food all day long.
right.
They have ridiculous palates. They know the difference between acid and sugar and too much salt and all these kind of things.
Well, they know how to fix their fuck ups. It's really what it comes
There
down
you
to,
go.
right? Like that's
There you
how
go.
I always tell chefs, just mess it up. I'll tell you how to fix it. Then you'll know forever. Dude.
That's art.
But what most bartenders would do, if someone didn't like a drink, they would put more alcohol on it.
Right.
And that's not a good cocktail. That's like the way I would put it is, if you go to a party and there's a loud asshole in the corner that's ruining it for everybody, that's that drink. Because
Right.
the alcohol is jumping out and being too loud, and you don't get to know anything else in the cocktail. So the whole thing was about balance. So I started asking chefs, how do you balance this out? And they taught me the importance of salt, the importance of acid, all those kind of things, and how you balance those things out. I just carried that over to the bar. And every time I made a drink, I let the whole staff taste it, because everybody likes different things.
Right.
Like my Sicilian grandfather used to say, if everybody wanted the same thing, they'd all be chasing your grandmother.
Right.
So I want
True
to get
story.
I want to get everybody's opinion. So I would always run back and forth in the kitchen, and I was very lucky to work with some really talented chefs who liked the fact that I was asking them, because they would help. And then I would ask them the ingredients. How do I incorporate that into a cocktail? How do we use that? What's the flavor compound? What works with this? What flavors complement these?
Right.
And from that, you get to build a really good cocktail. And now, out of nowhere, all of a sudden, people are coming in and they're saying, I want Steve to make my drink, which would piss off the other bartenders. But
Welcome to the real world.
the idea, I don't care if they're upset. We're all making money. It all goes in the tip jar.
Right.
So that's the way it kind of, the genesis of the entire thing about all this stuff. And then it got to be where anybody who put a cherry in a drink called themselves a mixologist.
Yeah, what's up with that, man? So that's the next phase. Is what's your opinion on this mixology? The last gentleman who was on, I told him, I said, I laughed so hard I saw this video. It was all about the coctologist, right? And you're like the mustache and the pinky out, and you're like, come on, man, like what's the deal, really?
It's arrogance. It's
Well, and
total arrogance. Mixologists, they're trying to rename themselves. You're a bartender. Quit trying to make yourself more important than you are. Mixologists want to tell you everything they know. Bartenders want to make you happy with the cocktail.
Right.
And I'd go into places and guys would sit there and they didn't know what I did for a living. And I'd sit there and I'd order a drink and they'd say, well, this is a winter wheat and winter wheat is sweet. And then and you know what complements this? This has got more citrus notes and all this. And I said, you know what, dude, just pour it in the fucking glass and give it to me.
Right.
I didn't ask. I want my drink. I don't want to hear what you think about it. How about if you care about what I think about it? So we went by there, and I don't like the word mixologist. I know mixologists. I know people that make a lot of money. They won't call themselves mixologists, but they're true scientists behind the bar. Those guys, I consider mixologists. These kids that throw an anchovy on something and go, look, I did something different. I'm a mixologist. You know what? You're right. You absolutely are a mixologist. By all means.
So I do think the phase is going out, though. Which is
definitely
cool.
Going out.
Yeah, it's going out. I mean, I think the whole restaurant business has gone from, because it did have a phase. I was part of it where we were like, no, don't do this, don't do that. We're not going to do this. We will do that. And it's like, now it's like, well, just what do you want, bro? We'll make it happy. And a lot of the bar movement right now is like, how do we take a really nice booze and just like put it over ice?
Exactly.
And that's really what a lot of people are after, right? Like, let's make it simpler. Like, everybody will want a good cocktail once, but that's not what everybody's after these days.
I must have been ahead of my time in my bartending career my short-lived bartending career when my best drink, when people would say, what's your specialty? I'd say, Jack Daniels on the rocks.
Yeah. Those people are like, what do you like? I'm like, something up there
Shot in
a glass, bro. Yeah, I mean.
Well, mixologists became, that equaled 10 minutes waiting for your cocktail.
Yeah, I'm not into that
You're a
either.
mixologist? You know what, dude? I just ordered a bourbon.
Yeah, I was
I only have time for a bartender.
I worked at Fridays for a long time, man. I mean, I was with the flair part of Fridays, and I learned like 3 moves, and then told everybody else, why don't you throw that shit around, and I'll make the drinks, and I'll be way happier, and we'll all make way more money if everybody's drunk.
Right.
So,
Right.
There's
works.
talented bartenders that do flair, but they're jugglers.
And you were the trained clown who didn't want to throw the bottles.
True story. I was the one that could actually do it, and I was like, no, man, no, thank you.
Were you shooting stuff across the room with your suspenders?
I wore water guns for a while. They were pretty fun, dude. That was, but that was, I mean, we were like young and whatever, and that's when Fridays was like cool, right? Now they're closing or whatever the heck happened to Fridays, but dude, it was that was a big deal, and even then I was like, pour the drink, man. And so the phase got so big, though, it went on, and I think they started it kind of with the flair thing, and then it went into flair bartending, then it went into this mixology thing, and now I just see more and more like old school cocktails coming back that aren't like crazy, 3 or 4 items, and they're mostly spirit forward, right? I mean, we're losing the kind of the foofy drinks or the Tahiti drinks or the tiki drinks or whatever. They're coming back, right?
They're coming back big, and mixology and that kind of stuff has been replaced now with craft. That's the word. That's the trigger word now. Craft means that they're actually using a really high quality spirit.
Yeah, you say craft to me, and I think of mac and cheese, but
With a C, not a K.
Yeah. Well, same difference, right? Same difference. I'm from Texas. We don't care.
But craft bartending is fantastic because guys are taking old classics and they're making them correctly. They're doing really good drinks. It's not a 12 or 15 ingredient in cocktail, and they're not bringing in a cockroach fart that's only available 10 minutes every decade, and you're so lucky that you're going to get this. It's like, dude, just make me a really good old fashioned and don't make it look like a fruit salad.
Yeah. And so then so you were overseas, and how did you end up coming back to you being with Casa Noble, man?
I came back and I walked away from the business. I opened up a couple places and had worked with some great chefs, with Chef Rick Bayless and Frazier and Jose Andreas and all that stuff. And I liked it, but I was getting too old. So,
the telltale story of I can't be out that late any longer.
Your knees, you wake up and your knees are swollen. So I left it, and then just on a whim, I found a thing where Casa Noble was looking for 7 brand ambassadors across the country. Pepe Hermosillo, the founder, didn't want to have any more, like we said, girls in T-shirts giving out keychains.
Right.
He wanted people that knew how to speak to bartenders, because most alcohol companies will buy golf bags and all that kind of stuff. But he got sick of that. So he said, find me 7 war horses. So it took him 3 years, and he found 7 of us. All of us are better than the next. We've all got serious pedigrees in the bar business, and no one's a mixologist. And our single job is to go out and basically change the perception of tequila being the chainsaw of spirits. Everybody thinks tequila, and they make that face. And our job is to slow everybody down and let them understand. I mean, tequila, there's been over 600 flavors identified in tequila, scientifically. 600. In cognac, they found 300. I mean, this is an incredibly complex, beautiful spirit, And
I don't know. What did the guy say, Tony, from Louis Trey?
Oh God,
It was like 1,500 or
yeah,
something.
like,
Some
like
perfume guy.
Yeah, there's like
Perfume guy.
1,200, yeah.
Right, it was like a perfume dude that Louis Trey had sniffed their butt or whatever it was, and there was like 1,200. Isn't there eau de vie?
But that's Louis.
look at that. That's
Louis
the tattoo
Trey.
thing, right?
Napoleon.
Well, I'm just saying that.
That's
Well, even in the
standard
VO, but it was like,
cognac.
but it was crazy. I keep hearing that over and over that they have all these essences of, and I really never thought of that tequila, to be honest with you. So I appreciate you saying that.
Well, again, when I was contacted and I went down there, a lot of companies asked me to come work for them. A
Right.
lot of them. Just because I care about my reputation, I don't want to lie to people or rip them off. It's that Catholic upbringing. But when I
No, you just go to church and ask them for forgiveness, right? That's the best part of being Catholic is that if you
In a
fuck up,
hood-
it's sorry. I'm
in a dark
sorry.
room with a hood and candles, I don't understand it.
Yeah, in warm hands.
But when I found out about Casa Noble, I do my research on everything because I care about what if I'm going to put my name behind it, I care.
Right.
It's like you won't suggest a chef to somebody unless you've vetted them. They're going to.
Yeah, I'm not going to send you to a shitty restaurant for sure.
So I found out Casa Noble being one of the only double certified organic tequilas. You can have an organic tequila where they just buy the organic agave plants and then they throw them in a washing machine with all kinds of stuff and then they call it tequila. Casa Noble is certified double organic, so the fields and the distillery. We own the plants, so we're in control of
Cool.
everything. We have our own water source, all that kind of stuff. We're kosher, which means we haven't added anything to it, and we're a green company. No spillage, no waste. And
It all goes in the bottle.
it all
Everything goes in the bottle.
everything goes in the bottle.
Yeah.
But they're so environmentally conscious, and they're so
Right.
they take their time in getting to get it right. The wood they use, the agave plants are 11 years old as opposed to 6. That kind of stuff, the care and the reputation, the pride they had, I wanted to work for them immediately, and it's been nothing but a blast. And now we're getting people to sort of slow down instead of treating tequila like it's a vehicle to get hammered. They're kind of slowing down and they're finding these beautiful flavors, beautiful things inside the bottle that they never knew were there. And now they're drinking more tequila with food as opposed to wine. So that's our job.
I'm
is to teach
intrigued.
people.
I'm still not a big. I'm not the biggest tequila fan. I think I warm up to it.
Love that.
I used to be a tequila fan because we drank like a bottle of it a night while we bartended.
Yeah.
But it served its purpose, like you were saying.
It's
It got to the finish line, right? It got to the finish line. I do tastings more now than I did 10 years ago. It happens that way. So this does, obviously they're in the region of tequila, right? Or is that how that works?
Yeah, it
Right.
has
So
to be.
it's
In order for it to be tequila, it's got to come from the tequila region.
right. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know a whole lot about this. So is
Right.
that like, is it a huge region? I feel like there's so many tequilas that like.
There's 5 different regions. There's Jalisco, Guanajuato, Tamaulipas. I can't remember the other 2.
Right, that's fine.
Because it's so early morning.
It's in
but there's
tequila.
basically 5 regions, and that's where they grow the Blue Weber agave tequila. Tequila is actually a mezcal. People don't think that they think that mezcal is a tequila, but actually tequila is mezcal.
Right. It's just from the region O.
Yeah. Well, actually,
Yeah.
the Spanish took over Mexico, and they were drinking mezcal wine, and which comes from any agave plants.
Right.
But they found out that the mezcal wine that came from these specific Blue Weber agave was sweeter and smoother. So they're the ones. The Spanish are the ones that actually gave tequila its actual denomination, or its however we're going to put it. It created that region called tequila in Jalisco. It's because that's where the best agave plants grew. And that's that's kind of like a short version of where tequila came from, because it was mezcal. Then they realized that if they didn't cook it underground, if they steamed it, if they, the way they processed it, it came out to be much, much, much smoother.
Right. So that's where you get the smokiness from mezcal versus
Yeah.
tequilas have their own origin and flavor and profile.
Tequilas is essentially cooked with steam, where mezcals, they dig a pit and they fill it with hot rocks, and then they put the plants in there, and then they cover them with earth and dirt, and they smoke for 24 hours to 48 hours. That's why mezcals taste like scotch.
Yeah,
These
totally.
fantastic scotches, and tequila doesn't have that smoky flavor. They're aged in barrels, so they'll have a woody flavor as opposed to the smoke.
Awesome. I had no idea. See,
learned so much here.
It happens every time. Well, we're gonna take a little rester here because we're gonna get some glasses, and then you're gonna walk us through a couple of these. And you brought, it looks like you brought one extra bottle than what I'm used to seeing, which is always like everybody brings the unicorn of booze here. And I actually said before you came here, if he doesn't bring some unicorn shit, I'm gonna make fun of him, because we tried Nolet's last week, and Nolet's brought their reserve. Have you tried that?
No, I haven't.
It's steeped in saffron. It was pretty unbelievable, man. If you didn't tell me, they should not label it gin. And so I learned a lot last week about like the eye-openness of this new. It's gin technically, but
But it's
nothing in the
perfume.
ballpark. Yeah, it was I don't know. What would you say? It's pretty epic.
Ooh, yeah.
Right? It's pretty epic.
It was, yeah. It definitely like didn't have that same like gin thing. It's like this is just a good drink.
Yeah, it was strip. So
So no pressure now. Thanks.
no pressure.
Fine,
you
whatever.
gotta bring some unicorn juice. It's good. Well, I know the other brands are good. No, you can't go to the
Give me
bathroom
5
and find it.
minutes. All right.
I got it out. So we'll be right back to try this out. We'll talk about it more. Peace.